Do you ever find in the sales process that things seem to be going well, but the close is ultimately elusive? Now, so many salespeople are really focused on the end of the sale, like that's the key moment to close the deal. But really, how we're closing the deal is a result of what's going on earlier on in the conversation. So in this video, I'm going to show you 11 keys to closing sales right now. Check it out. Number one, don't worry about the close at the end. This is really old school stuff, right? You can go on YouTube or Google for closing techniques, and it's going to be all about some hardcore close at the end, like that's somehow going to convince this lemming of a prospect to buy from you. But the reality is that your prospects are smart, and chances are they've made their decision much earlier on in the conversation about whether they're going to buy from you or not. So worrying about the close at the end is really just the wrong place to be focused on. Instead, what we want to do is make sure that we're following a process that is taking the prospect to focus on what matters most, where we understand what's going on, they see value in what we do, and ultimately they believe that we can be the solution to the challenges that they're facing. Number two, start strong, finish strong. This is something that one of my early sales mentors used to always say. He'd say, Mark, if you start the sale off strong, you will finish strong. If you start the sale off weakly, then you are not going to close that deal, or you'll be fighting and scraping and clawing, and you're going to have to be discounting and all that stuff. So start off the sale really strong. Make sure that you are showing the value you have up front and not waiting for this magical close at the end, because you may never even get there because the prospect has already decided in their mind that they're not going to buy. Number three, bring insight at the beginning. So this is really important in modern selling, where we're actually bringing true insight up front. And because we as salespeople talk to so many different prospects, we have this amazing bird's eye view where we really have the insight of a highly paid consultant. Yet we're not being paid for that consulting work. We're being paid for whatever it is that we're ultimately selling. But that doesn't mean that you can't demonstrate that insight at the beginning of the conversation to show that you know what you're talking about and that you understand their world. And maybe you can bring some insight that's actually useful to them. The more useful the prospect feels that you are, the more likely they are to want to answer the questions that you have for them a little bit later. Number four, understand them better than the competition. One of my mentors used to always say, if you understand their challenges better than anyone else, they will buy from you. So make it a goal to understand your prospects better than your competitors. Make it a goal to understand your prospects better than their business partner or the people that work with them. The more you can understand what's going on in the life of your prospect, the more you are going to sell. Number five, spontaneous questions win the day. Now, we teach in the Sales Insights method a systematic approach of asking questions, but I find that the systematic approach to asking questions is great. Yet what we also need is an approach for asking spontaneous questions throughout. Questions that we didn't even know we were going to ask because we didn't know the prospect was going to say something. So when the prospect says something that you don't fully understand or that you want to dig into, a spontaneous question like, well, what prompts you to say that? Or help me understand that? Or why do you think that is? Those types of spontaneous, strategic questions are going to get the prospect to open up so much more and get them so much more engaged in the ultimate solution that you'll be sharing later on. Number six, think like Columbo. Now, if you're under the age of 50, you may not be familiar with Columbo the detective, but Columbo was a famous TV detective who was always the smartest person in the room, but was always acting like he didn't understand things or was confused by this or didn't get that. And that's exactly how we want to be in the sales process. Our goal is not to demonstrate that we're the smartest person in the room. Instead, our goal is to understand what's going on. And nothing disarms someone better than feeling like you're genuinely curious as to what's going on. Like you don't fully understand. That's the power of this. You can understand your prospect's world better than anyone else, yet you can still have a lot more questions because deeper understanding is going to prompt you to ask questions that are more interesting. So think like Columbo. Number seven, leverage case studies. Your prospects don't care about your features, and chances are they don't care about your benefits either. They certainly don't care about your offering. What they care about is that you can solve the challenges that they have. And one of the best way to demonstrate that we can solve their challenges is by sharing examples or sharing stories of other people that we have helped who have been in their position. And that's what a case study is. It's basically a fancy word for saying these are client stories. And so what you want to share in a case study is basically what were the challenges that your client dealt with? What did you do really quickly on what you did? And then what were the results that came out of it? The more case studies that you can share with a prospect that are relatable to that person, the more likely they are to buy, because now you have shown them that you understand exactly their situation. And by the way, you have solved those challenges before. Number 8, focus on solving challenges. I still find that even to this day, most salespeople are so focused on the features and benefits of what their offering does. But the reality is your prospect doesn't care. They only care about the challenges that they have and whether you can help them solve them. And so focus on solving those challenges that they talk about. The more you relate back to the challenges that they have talked about and that they have shared with you, the more likely they are to see the value in what you do. Number 9, engage. Now, we have come up with a lot of really powerful new data lately that shows that the more engaged and back and forth your conversations are, the more likely you are to close a deal, period. So if your prospect is highly engaged, if they're asking questions, you're asking questions, it's really back and forth, that's the real sweet spot where a prospect is most likely to feel a good connection and to want to buy. So make one of the goals of your conversations to really fully engage the prospect in that conversation. The more they are engaged, the more likely they are to buy. Number 10, lots of questions equals more sales. Now, I want to be cautious here because this is not telling you to suddenly start probing your prospects with tons of annoying questions, but instead, if your conversation is a nice two-way conversation, those questions are naturally going to happen. Those spontaneous questions where it's just lots of back and forth and you're trying to understand, oh, why do you say that? Or help me understand this. The more there's lots of those types of questions, you're going to get far more sales because you will have understood them so much better than anyone else. Number 11, take their temp. And so what this means is that you literally want to take their temperature at the end of a conversation with a prospect, and they're going to give you feedback if you actually ask. So taking their temperature might sound something like, George, really appreciate this conversation so far. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being that we're way off track, 10 being that we're right on track, where would you say that we are in this conversation? And they're going to tell you based on the number that they pick, where they feel that you are. And as a result of that number, whatever they give, you want to dig into that to find out what's going on. That's how we're going to understand whether we're on track, not by going for some hardcore close at the end. So there are 11 keys to closing sales right now. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an amazing free training on the step-by-step formula to closing more deals. Just click right here to get registered instantly. Seriously, just click right here. This is an in-depth training that will help you close more deals at higher prices, all while generating more meetings. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking my face, which should be right about here, to get access to a new video just like this one each week.